Cashiers of Reddit. Do you judge us customers by the products or quantity of products we buy? What are some stereotypes? Not at all. We serve so many people and handle so many products, we will already have forgotten what you bought by the time we're serving the next customer. Having said that, I had an internal chuckle at how common it was for people to buy condoms and pregnancy tests at the same time. I work in a small convenience store in a small town, so about 60% of my customers were regulars. They were always pleased and surprised when I had their cigarettes waiting for them or reminded them they hadn't asked for ice if they normally got ice every day. With teens buying condoms, I tried to be extra. I'm not noticing what you're buying because some 16-year-olds kind of cringe buying condoms from a 50-something woman. Kudos to young man. I'd have paid for them if I thought that would increase the number buying them. The only time I ever felt the need to comment on someone's purchase was a guy buying 1 6-pack of Stella and a bunch of Milwaukee Best. I paused, and then had to ask if he had a friend he didn't like that wanted to share beer or what the hell. He said he drank the Stella and then once he was drunk he might as well drink piss. I congratulated him on his cost effectiveness. I used to work at a drugstore through college and hardly ever found myself judging anyone's purchases. Sometimes they'd buy a really tacky perfume and spritz it 20 times on themselves before leaving, but that wasn't really a judgment on their purchase. I will say though, to any people who feel weird about it, we aren't judging you for buying rubbers. You don't have to feel scared to walk up with the box. We're just happy you're being safe, and 10 times out of 10, I wasn't even paying attention. As a previous late-night cashier at both Safeway, Wawa, and Papa John's, I care very little about what you are buying, honestly. Doesn't cross my mind in the slightest. How much longer I have to sit in that hellhole was usually my main thought. 3 more hours, fuck. 1 more hour. I guess I can manage. The fact that you're buying a triple pepperoni double anchovy large pizza all for yourself at 3 a.m., I really don't care actually. Can you just stop coming at 3 a.m. so I don't have to be here that late? I don't know if this counts, since I only cashier at a McDonald's, but I personally don't really judge anyone based on a money standpoint. However, I have made assumptions about people based on what they order. Filet-o-fish people are almost always either old, rude, or both. Pretty much every worst customer we've ever gotten has ordered a fillet. So if you come through and this is your order, I'm probably going to be very careful around you. Same for Diet Coke with lemon people. Yeah, all are usually pampered as fuck. This isn't always the case, though. A lot of these customers are very polite. If you order double and hot and spicy as the main dishes, 9 times out of 10, you're a high school boy. These people are also usually unnecessarily loud. Not sure what that correlation is. If you have a big, loud truck, you are probably going to get either a large Big Mac meal, or a large quarter-pounder meal, sometimes a large double quarter. You're probably going to get either a Coke or a Diet Coke, Dr. Pepper if you're adventurous. Those who order 10-piece nugget combos are either usually teenagers or young adults. Your sauce says more about you than the actual nuggets, though. I can also usually tell what type of customer you are by what drink you get. This isn't always accurate, though, since we only have 8 drinks to offer. But, side note, Fonda Orange people are virtually always a party. I have no idea what you all are up to. If you want your fries well done and or no salt, you're probably either older or just angry. A lot of our ruthless customers have been over this specifically. Not sure why this is. I could give a rundown of every drink and every item, but we'd be here forever. I do eventually want to make a post about it, though. Obviously this is not always correct. It's just my usual experience, and I do my best not to change how I treat people based on their order. Filet-o fish orders with well done, no salt fries and a Diet Coke with lemon, we fear you. I worked in a bookstore for several years and I absolutely judged people who insisted on paying an exact change, especially when there was a line. I actually had an older lady count out 195 pennies for a bookmark once only to come up a couple short and pay for it with a 5. I worked in a liquor store in 1991. This scraggly guy came in and got a 6-pack of Miller High Life cans. Now, this liquor store was in a nice part of town and most customers were genuine twats. This guy was polite, smiled, and was the first, all day, to treat me like a human. I had been hit hard all day with assholes. I looked at him and smiled and told him, genuinely, to have a great day, that he'd been my nicest customer today. He nodded and took his change. Then my manager comes running up. He pulled me to the window. This guy got into a limo. My manager, you didn't know who that was? Me? He was nice, got Miller High Life cans. My manager, that was F. King Neil Young. Me. 1. That I didn't recognize him. 2. That he was the one guy who was nice to me that day. 3. I totally judge him internally on his beer choice when he first stepped up. Sorry, Neil, but also, thanks for being a good human to me on a crappy day. I used to work at the cigarette store and I wouldn't judge the product but I would judge the fuck out of you if you were vague about your order. The cigarettes are on a rack behind the counter so I had to pick them out for people. And at least once a shift we'd get people who need to fill out some fucking verbals. Hey, pack of Marbs. Okay, your verboseness. Marbreds? No. Marblights. Here you go. No. Marblight hundreds. Longer cigarettes. Alright. Here you go. No. Marblight hundreds. The gray ones. Marb Ultralight hundreds. Yeah, here you go. No. I want a carton of them. Well shit me, I didn't even bring my fucking mind scanner today, so you might have to use your tobacco-stained burger chute to communicate that to me, you ambulatory lard condom. Will you be using cash or card today and would you like a bag? I worked at a CVS back when I was 19 during summer in college. The only customers I ever judged were those extreme couponers, people with 20 different membership cards buying a chain of shit in 60 different transactions and holding up the line for 30 minutes. Other than that, I don't care. Only time I interrupted a customer was a guy who was trying to buy a tiny bottle of baby oil and condoms. And only because oil-based lubricants degrade latex. Hopefully I saved him from child support. Former cashier. I honestly never even really noticed what you were buying. As soon as I scanned and bagged it, it was out of my mind. The only thing that would stick with me was the whole rotisserie chickens we sold because they smell great and after a long shift someone would inevitably be buying like 4 of the fucking things and all I could think of they wouldn't notice one missing. If I just like ... unhinge my jaw and consume it whole ... that's possible, right? Not really, mostly on how you interact with us, sometimes about how you pay. If you are a jerk, obvious judgment. X tells customer the machine must fill out check but they insist on taking 5 minutes to slowly fill it out when I have a terribly long line. The man who only ever paid in quarters. Seriously, so many questions. Time I judged on items. Person was returning a ton of disposable razor packages. Said she bought her daughter the wrong one. Okay, as I was getting the receipts ready to give back to her, I saw she used a coupon on all the razors to get them for free. Damn scam. Worked in toy stores at an amusement park for children when I was 16 or so. I only ever judged people that bought 1 liter of still water for about €5, $6, while there was free access to tap water. You might think tap water can be unhealthy but yeah, no, Not here. We literally have stricter quality regulations for tap water than for bottled water. I mean, to buy a liter of water for €5. I was a cashier during high school and a brief stint in my mid-20s. Didn't judge. You want the Left Behind series? Great. You want James Patterson's newest book? Fine. You want 50 Shades of Grey? Grand. Just don't be rude, and listen to the spiel cashiers are required to give on whatever product the company wants them to push. Just say no thank you. Don't go on about how I already donate to a charity or saying no before they even open their mouths. I work at McDonald's. I don't judge unless you're just an asshole. Nearly got fired BC. I accidentally stepped on some random dude's shoes and he decided that me saying sorry wasn't enough and that he wanted me to get down on my knees and brush his shoes off since I'd scuffed them. I told the prick that it wasn't gonna happen and he insisted on making a scene and pushing me, so I grabbed him by his shirt collar and dragged him outside. When I let go he tried to swing at me, so I closed the door and locked it. So yeah, unless you're pick I don't judge. Generally we barely notice and we don't care. The only thing that would make me judge what you were buying was if it were somehow related to your shitty behavior or personality. For example, people who buy cigarettes and lottery can sometimes be very rude about it, saying things like give me a package of X brand or give me 2 plays on tonight's draw. I'd quite but ask any cashier who sells these items regularly and they'll confirm it's a thing. So would I notice someone buying nothing but cigarettes and lotto? Number, would I notice it is there being an asshole? Yup. If you're asking do we make fun of people who buy like 20 packs of condom and lube and nothing else, or 50 Amazon flyer deal, I have sold these exact quantities of these exact items before. The answer is number. Do I remember it? Obviously, but it's not something I'd make a point of being a jerk about to the customer or to my coworker later. It's like whatever. Worked at In-N-Out Burger. Didn't usually judge, except for the people who ordered a cheeseburger meal with no cheese. Me? So, the hamburger meal, customer I definitely judged. No, you ignorant fast food cashier. I want the number 2 but no cheese. Why would you think that's a number 3? Worked at a gas station for 2+ years. Only judge you if you're a dick. Like if you're always an asshole, and you smell bad, and it's 9 AM and you're getting 3 packs of Marlboro Reds and 10x $1 tall boys of Molson Ice, then yes. Or if you're old enough to be my grandpa, acting like your shit doesn't stink cause you drive a base model BMW, all you get is a Fiji water and you throw your money at me. Yep, judging you as well. Never understood that. Most 18-year-olds start off at a shitty job. Like just BC you're 35 years into your career doesn't mean you're better than the kid who just got their first job a year or 2 ago. I always judged all of the above as worthless humans who do nothing but detract from the remainder of the population's quality of life. I love seeing them around town now that I'm not paid to serve them, give a fuck or use formalities. Lol. Got my revenge a couple times when I saw the same miserable humans at other places in town, giving the cashiers a hard time. It felt wholesome. I worked at a hardware store for about a year while I was in college. Now, you're thinking, PFFT, a hardware store, what's to judge? Oh, I shall tell you. When tweaker-looking individuals come in and buy a bunch of various chemicals, while clearly holding a CVS bag filled with various cold remedies, you know they're cooking meth. When teenagers come in, buy up a bunch of mothballs or naphtha powder, various cast iron pipe parts, drill bits, and candle wick, you know they're making pipe bombs. When some frumpy-looking generally disheveled woman comes in and asks for whatever chemical eats paint the fastest, you know her ex-boyfriend is in for a bad night. When some old woman and her husband come in, the husband refuses to talk, and the old woman says, "I need something to remove a really bad ingrown toenail." You know who has the problem. 5 minutes later, when they meander on up with Dremel bits, you know he's spending the night in the air. When some shady-looking individual buys bolt cutters with cash, refuses to touch the receipt, and then leaves quickly, you know your entire snowblower and lawnmower section is about to get stolen from the front of the store. And yes, it happened. When you ask someone if they need help, they tell you they are fixing their brake lines, and you explain to them that compression fittings are not the safe way to repair brake lines, and they tell you off. You know they're going to get in an accident later and you don't want to be around them. When someone goes to return a sump pump, claims it didn't work, but it's covered in water and sediment, you know they are a lying sack of crap, along with the other 499 lying sacks of crap that returned their sump pumps conveniently a day after the flooding subsided. When I was a cashier, I barely noticed what people bought most of the time. There was one guy though, who always came in and bought 4 by 40-pound boxes of bananas that I remember, and he said he only ate bananas and showed me an old photo of himself really fat every time I checked him out. I didn't judge him exactly, I just remember him as a notable customer. Cashiered at a grocery store in college. Sometimes, but probably not how you're thinking. It was more like the person who came through with 10 boxes of white cake mix, 15 bags of powdered sugar, 4 dozen eggs, and 3 gallons of milk, and I generally would judge that they had a wedding cake to bake. Or someone buying 5 packs of hot dogs, 4 packs of buns, ketchup, mustard, pickle relish, 4 pounds of potato salad, 3 big bags of chips, and 5 2Ls of soda. I'd be extra sure to check they didn't have a bag or 2 or charcoal in the bottom of the cart. The firefighters confused me for the longest time. They would always come through in 2s or 3s wearing their matching t-shirts with the fire station logo and get like a single serving bag of chips and a 20 bottle of something to drink, and they'd do it nearly every shift. But I never saw them get groceries or even enough to share. I finally asked one time when I was there as a customer and happened to line up behind them. The answer was, well, it's hard to fight a fire alone. It hadn't occurred to me. They never looked at all disheveled or smelled smoky or anything. Edit, if you were my 5th customer in half an hour with 2 cases of soda, I'd generally realize we'd started one of those sales again, and prepare myself to scan a lot of them. I used to be a cashier at a department store when I was around 16-17, and I usually didn't really judge or care about what people would buy. I would just easily be able to notice though if someone was there for sales because they would only buy the clearance clothing, or those uppity rich moms who would buy like $2,000 worth of the high-end stuff and not bat an eyelash. The only time I kind of judged someone was this lady started telling me her life story randomly as I was ringing up tons of merchandise for her, and she was telling me what schools she was paying for her kids to go to and how she wanted her son to get into Harvard. She bought a bunch of fancy expensive clothes and perfume and some other stuff I couldn't remember. Then she waved her hands over some of the cheaper clothes she bought and said, "Oh yeah, this is all for my maid. She needs new clothes to work for me, and this Fitbit is for her as well because she needs to lose weight, too," and laughed. It was weird and kind of uncomfortable. When I was a cashier at Japanese, the only time I would judge is if you brought a giant pile of clothes. Then as I am ringing, you notice that you're going over your so at the end you end up grabbing and clothes and saying, "Take this off." This would make me so mad as it's tough to find one clothing item out of 20 on the transaction. I don't mind if you need to remove 1 or 2 items, but when it's nearly half of the items but it's one at a time, it's annoying. Most of the time I don't notice. The only one I found at all noteworthy was when a lady bought almost the entire Percy Pig range, including a bottle of the new drink and a pack of the biscuits and a cuddly toy Percy, but I didn't judge that. I just found it vaguely interesting. One pattern I picked up over the years is that white people like wood tip black and milds, and black people like plastic tip black and milds. I don't mean most of the time either. Every time. It's gotten to the point where I don't even ask them to specify what kind of black and mild they want. It's never been wrong.